Hi, this is Eva for Once Upon a Timeline. Welcome to Midnight Mandela. How is everybody doing? So, I don't know if you noticed, but I not only got a haircut last week, but this week I got a different chair. It's actually a chair I had in the back room. So, it's not a Mandela. I just swatched out the chairs. My old assistant liked the old chair, but I didn't like it that much. So I'm like, wait, it's only been a year. Maybe I'll just get the chair I like. All right. So, I don't know. How's it been going with you guys this week? Probably a bunch of weird stuff as usual. I'll tell you the one thing I've noticed this week that although time still goes fast when I'm awake, when I'm asleep, it's been going slow, I guess was how you'd say it. Like I went to sleep and then I thought I slept for hours. And then I had already gone to bed late, so it was getting to be like morning. So I was like, oh, what time is it? And I checked, and apparently it was the same hour I had gone to bed. I mean, like, it hadn't switched to the new hour. And I was like, how many minutes after the hour did I go to bed? And I couldn't remember exactly, but it couldn't have been more than an hour. It seemed like it was only 15 minutes. And like, that's impossible. It just seemed like I had been sleeping for hours and hours. So that was weird. And then just now, I've been so busy with trying to keep up with all the Christmas orders. So I was just kind of worn out. So I'm like, I'm just going to take like an hour nap before the show. And I can usually rely on myself to wake up naturally if I just program it in. Like, okay, wake up in an hour. But then after I was sleeping, I thought a really long time, and I'm like, I haven't really gotten the mental alarm bell yet, but I feel like it's been so long. And so I got up. I'm like, I'll get up a few minutes early. And so I got up, and I had only been sleeping like 10 minutes, which also seems like impossible. So, so I don't know. Sleep is so weird, and I don't even understand, like, the experience of it just constantly changes. So right when I'm starting to kind of figure out the lay of the land, it's like it changes again. But the lay of the land is like the phenomenological perspective of, this body. Sorry to sound all fancy pantsy, but oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I always get extra orders during Christmas. So, unfortunately, a lot of them are kind of small. So, it's a lot of work, but not a ton of money. I'm actually thinking of just making it so that you can't buy just a few of something. You have to buy a little bit more. It's just because there's only one of me. And, with inflation and everything, I'm like, just the time to pack and ship, you have to consider that, if you're only making $3, is it really even worth the time to pack and ship and maybe answer questions and all that? So, but yeah, but it's a little bit late to really change it. But I've been going back, and anytime somebody orders something really tiny, I've been going back and, like blanking out the option for just a couple. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. $10 profit, like, or at least not including shipping and stuff is what I'm thinking. What happened to my assistant? Well, I've had a number of them. Like, two of them were really quite old, and one by one they just got too old to work. Like, one got sick with something, and then he didn't want to come back, and then another one got, I mean, we're talking really old people, so they worked for years, and then they got sick. And then I had one that moved, and I always knew he was going to move, but I knew he was also really good. So it was worth it. It was worth having him. There was one or two that just didn't work out. Like, one, she was good, but she just wanted, she wanted a $50 an hour job or something. And then she also didn't want to be away from her kids, even though they're like teens. And so then she decided to teach pickleball. So I don't know how that worked out for her, hopefully well. But so she ended up quitting to go teach pickleball. That was a long time ago, though. So business actually had been down. And then this place costs a lot more. So I have just been kind of handling it myself. But the problem is when stuff like Christmas happens, then I don't have any backup. So Yeah, I don't, actually, she was good worker, and I think if she had gone into, like, she had worked in as a, like, a teller in a bank before. I think if she went back into that and worked hard, she could definitely work her way up because she was skilled. The problem she had was she's just, like, she could pick up stuff really quickly and do it efficiently. She just had a lot of kind of neuroticisms, and like, she complained a lot, and she just, I mean, like, she couldn't deal with things not being perfect all the time, and I think that she kind of, that really slowed her down. And it's kind of hard to describe, but it made her a little bit difficult, and she didn't know how to be satisfied, and then she was always restless and moving around, and so I don't think that kind of blocked her ability to just, pick something and move up in it. It said your video was upcoming and not live. I've only been on for like a couple minutes, so you're all right. How is it that I thought my friend, oh, you thought of your friend and then he messaged you? That's actually, one of the synchronicities that people have described for a long time. I definitely think all of that is more common now, but. So yeah, anyway, I'm trying to get back to where I make enough money that I can hire an assistant and still be earning, like, more money and not less. Like, if you have enough work, then there's like kind of an in-between spot, where you don't quite have enough money to hire somebody, but you still kind of need somebody. So you need to earn a little more to get over the hump. So I don't know. I'm sure there's a way to do it. And that's one of the reasons I'm thinking of just being like less work, more money, and being more efficient, and not accepting the tiny orders. And, those orders were fine like 6 or 7 years ago, before all the inflation, when $5 was more money, and, I didn't have an expensive place to rent, and I had less orders. And $50 an hour is what nurses get. Yeah, but if you move up in banking, so you got to understand, minimum wage here now, what is it? It's like $17 an hour. We're going to move up to 22 in California. So you can earn a lot more in Cali, but then the cost of everything is a lot higher. So rent is ridiculous, and utilities. How are the cats doing? They seem to be doing fine. Knock on wood, all the cats are doing well. And the ferals are progressing in their skills, especially the more friendly one. The other one is too, but it's just slower. She's becoming more chill, and she's getting more playful, and just kind of testing how things work more. And I don't have a strong enough stomach. Yeah, I don't think I could go into the medical system at all because of how it operates now. I am a little squeamish, but once I can get used to it. It feels awful at first, and then you get over it. My black cat insists on laying right by the keyboard when I'm trying to type. Yeah, so when these cats started coming, one of the rules was no going on the counters, because there's just too much stuff to knock over. And so it's funny, that is a synchronicity you said that, because just today she was running around like a dork. Like, how they get playful, and she hasn't really done that much, so I think she's starting to get like more relaxed. So she was getting playful, but she wasn't sure how she wanted to be playful, because some cats you can go and they'll run around and kind of like a dog, but she doesn't know how to do that. So when I did that, she just looked at me all confused. But then she was running around herself like that, and then she jumped on the counter right in front of me, and I think she wanted to see if it was okay. So I walked over, and I just took her, And I said, no. And I put her down. And then she was like this, like, but then she's like, oh, okay, this isn't that bad. But I think part of it was she felt confident enough to just test it in that she wasn't going to get into too much trouble. But she still seemed respectful when I said no. So that was interesting. I worked as a cleaner. I worked in a nursing home. I don't think I could work in a nursing home, actually. I don't know. I think all that sadness, I just couldn't do it. I mean, even just being in there, walking around is hard. Oh, speaking of the cat, she's scratching the door. Hold on. Synchronicity kitty, come in here. Come in, kitty. Yes. You have to go on the camera now because you were synchronicity kitty. Here you go. You have to go on the camera. This is the bad kitty right here. Is that you? Are you a bad kitty, huh? You are so chill now, huh? Okay, here you go. She's like, stop bugging me. I need to go eat my kibbles. Yeah, I don't know. My friend was like my mom was in a care facility for a while after she got sick, and it wasn't long, but it seemed pretty miserable in there. And then another friend of mine was in there, another one temporarily. And I think he was freaking out. It was even harder on him just being in there. I think he'd rather die on the street than be in one of those things. And, the irony was that because he's so good at machines and stuff, he was actually helping the workers there because they had got some equipment in and they didn't know how to operate it and put it together. And this guy needed his oxygen set up and they couldn't figure it out. And he's like, wait, I'll do it. And he put it all together. That guy might have suffocated to death because they couldn't put his oxygen thing together, but Dave fixed it. So I'm like, well, it's a good thing you were there. Anyway, sorry, I'm glad your cat is better. Full moon, and it was really windy. I went out like an hour or so ago, and it was super windy, so I checked the map. And because there's no wind scheduled, it said it was just going to be an ordinary day, so I'm like, why is it blowing like crazy? So I saw it's like this, and so I'm here. So I don't know what's this. I mean, I guess there's wind here. It looks like it's wind, right? But yet it says there's none. But I'm like, well, it's blowing, guys. How come this is not working? It was working earlier. Can I zoom out? Hold on. All right, let's see. Okay, so we still have that thing. Doink. But one thing I noticed, now it's all foggy. This is not helping. Hold on. Here. Doink. Okay, so here's what's weird. This is sneaky, right? Okay, I look at this and I saw this on another map like last week. And I wasn't sure if it was going to stay or what. But this lake, Laguna Salada, it looks like it's just more weather. But there's actually a lake here now. And there's the Salton Sea here, which I've talked about before. As you can see, this lake here is almost as big as Salton Sea, and Salton Sea has gotten a lot bigger. So I checked into this on the satellite last time, like last week, and I didn't see any water in there. It just looks like dirt. So I'm like, what's going on? Maybe it's kind of a lark, because then I checked a few other maps and I didn't see Laguna Salada. But here I am again checking just the weather, and then there's Laguna freaking Salada again. So I think this thing is showing up now, because I have literally never ever seen a big fat effing lake near Salton Sea. And I've been checking Salton Sea for like 8-9 years, ever since the Mandela showed up. So I am positive, freaking positive, there was not a Laguna Salada there. And I think you guys may have said that I think that this area is going to combine into a big waterway. So, here it is. There's phase 2, maybe, is this. Okay, so what the heck is Laguna Salada? It's interesting because there's an image here and it's like, is that water or not? So the story is that it's usually dry, but sometimes when there's a lot of rains, it completely fills up with water. So that's Laguna Salada. But there was no lake there before. I'm sorry, there just wasn't. So I think it's interesting that it's the world's tiniest image too. Really couldn't find anything bigger. Let's see, how do I get rid of this thing? Doink. Alright, so we got another lake apparently. So my bet of what'll happen now is that this lake will get more and more often have water. I've never even heard of any water or lake being here, so there'll be like some big rain and then they'll say, oh, Laguna Salada is totally full. And then there'll be some kind of song and dance about how like unusual runoff is contributing to it, or I don't know, some kind of yap like that. It's sort of like that new lake that showed up north of here and they said it hadn't been around for like decades. And then pretty soon the story, and then they said it'd dry up in a few months. And then 8 months later, they said, oh, well, extra runoff from the mountains has made it last longer. And then like the next year it said that, you know, that lake shows up every few years. I'm like, no, it never existed before. So the story just keeps morphing. So, you know, just looking at, where was that? Oh, this is a different thing. That's not Wonder Map. Just looking at this hook. I swear this thing is growing a lot lately. And now it has this thing in here, which I don't remember. Even last time I looked, I don't remember seeing that. So I think that's pretty new. Look at that. It looks like a giant fish hook. I don't know what else has been happening. So I guess there's what, a storm here or something, and that's causing the wind there. It was kind of weird. I went out and it really looked like a huge, oh, see, there's something happening here. It really seemed like there was a huge storm kicking in. This is not a bad map, actually. Just to look around. I mean, it's not the globe Earth, but it's okay. Ah, did you know there's a big fat Laguna Salada lake just south of you? Yeah, see? I know, crazy, huh? You think if there was a giant lake on the map just south of Salton Sea, you would know. Sounds like the cat's stirring up some trouble over there. I fantasize about taking night walks, but I don't because of danger. Yeah, I just, ever since I was you gotta realize us Gen X, we did that crap when we were like 8. We'd run around outside by ourselves, so we just do it anyway. I'm not taking any responsibility for anybody else. I'm not telling you to do that, though. But yeah, I think it just gets worse when you're older, because we did that when we're 8, and then I'm this age, I'm like, F it. I'm old anyway. I'm just going to do what I want. Yeah, I kind of wonder, you know, maybe he really, of course it would have been nice if they knew how to operate the stuff, but you know, everybody's like minimum wage and they're not techie people, and I used to go with my dog all the time at night too. I don't know if you remember when nights used to be like, if there was clouds, they would be pitch black. The clouds would block all the moonlight, all of it. But now the clouds like glow, and even when the moon's not out, which is fairly often now, it's still pretty light out. It's not like, it used to be like if it was a new moon or if there was a lot of clouds, it would be like being in a cave. It was pitch black. It's not like that anymore. You don't even need a flashlight now. How do I get to that map? Okay, so I went to wonderground.com and then I picked satellites. I believe that's it. Boink. Go backwards. No, not video. I think you could see that I did
today
wander around a bit. Let's see. Go back to here. All right, here, maps and radar. Interactive satellite, I'm pretty sure that's it. Yes, that was it. And I already had it set for my area, so that's why it came up on Escondido. I wonder if that was on Google Earth. Did we have the same thing on Google Earth? Laguna Salada. Google Earth. It kind of reminds me, I shouldn't rely too much on Google Earth because stuff shows up on other paths. Explore Earth. Okay. Yeah, see, it doesn't show here, but they don't have hardly anything. This has been developing, and that was my argument for, and then this turned really green here. So that was my argument for this filling in. But here it does say Laguna Salada right here. Then you get that close. Okay, wait. What is this? Is that also it? That's it. So it did have water at when this thing was taken, when this image is. That's interesting. Okay. Sneaky. So it has water, but it's like green, stinky water. That's one of the things I do notice when stuff comes in. It'll have some kind of weird off color, and then later it'll turn blue. So I wouldn't be surprised if, as we continue to check here, this area gets larger and more blue, and I've seen that with other maps. You know, there's this computer has a weird thing, like whenever I open something, it opens down here. It doesn't open up here. All right, data attribution. So that's from 2021. Make sure it still says that. Now it's 2023. Okay, so that's from 2023. Yeah, 2023. So technically on a bunch of maps now, this whole area is that lake. So they said it all fills up. Let me look at historical and see if we can see one where it's full. Where was the historical thing? Here. Okay. New. It's just disappearing back in time. Because there's got to be 1 year where it had it, right? I mean, there was El Niños. I seriously, why even have it on the map if it doesn't ever show up? And it's not like we've had that much rain lately. This is crazy. Crazy. There. All right. In year 2000. Oh, you can see it. Kind of. But see, this is the whole, it's this lake. It goes all the way to these edges here. So when do I get to see it full? Did they take all these images in summer? Okay. It's getting there. No. Disappearing again. Huh. Bizarros. This is something to keep an eye on because I have a suspicion that as we go on, Is that it? 93 is the earliest? No, 92. Here we go. That's how you operate these. Let's just make some jumps. Okay. So what, there's nothing... 84. Goes back to 84. Whoa! Found it! Crazy. Alright, yeah, it is almost... Oh, you can really see it there. So this lake kind of fits with this super fertile area. Now there's a lake here. This area is kind of filling in. Looks like we're going to get some rivers through here. So I have a feeling this whole thing is just going to fill in here. Looks like it's going upwards this way too. So remember all those jokes about how California was going to split off and sink into the ocean? Maybe it is, you know? Maybe it's working on that. This is crazy. Okay, so there it is, full. Just close that. Crazy ass people partying too hard, stabbing each other. Yeah. It helps if you have a big hound. I swear, even if the hound is harmless, if it's large and has like black or shepherd coloring, and like if it's a golden retriever, they might not be impressed. But if it just looks like anything that might be mean, that's usually enough. Even if it's not. We had a large shepherd mix, and I'm pretty sure he wouldn't actually do anything, but he just looked pretty intimidating. He was large, and he had the upright ears, and he was kind of beefy. He had the shepherd colors, and he had one blue eye and one brown eye. And he just looked, I don't know, he looked like a police dog or something, like a beefy police dog. People just didn't mess with me when I had him. The other thing that works is if you're the crazy ass person, even the crazy people will get scared. Like I used to go walking on the trails with my dog at night, and I would let the dog off the leash. So the dog's off in Timbuktu, and I'm kind of alone. I mean, the dog figures out where I'm at, but I didn't used to bring the flashlight because I was afraid that if the flashlight ran out of batteries, I could get stranded out of there. So I just stopped. Like, I figured if I could get there without the flashlight, I could get back. So I'd be out there without a flashlight late in, like, I don't know, not late, but like 9 p.m. or something, which is late in winter. And people would drive down that road sometimes, but they weren't really supposed to because it's an off-roading area. And they would get kind of lost, and they weren't sure where the road out was. And I knew because I hiked there all the time. And so people would come down the road, and suddenly I would be there, like in the dark without a flashlight. Suddenly there's this person just there. And I swear it scared the crap out of people. And I just laughed because I really don't look that dangerous. But when you're like at night out in like the, not exactly wooded, but it's like that, you know, it's the trails. And then suddenly there's just somebody there in the dark. It scares people. I'm not going to hurt anybody, but I try to be all nice, like, oh, hey, I'm just walking my dog. And they're like, yeah, sure, lady. Demon lady's going to attack and suck my blood. Okay, Azraelus 1. What, you got an interesting fact? I can listen to it. See if it's a Mandela. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's not that we really split off and fall into the ocean, but I think that Mandela style, a split will show up, and then some story will emerge. Well, California has always kind of looked like it's splitting off, and that's where the, you know, it will have always been so. You've heard of Victorian people eating mummies. Yes, I have, but only recently. Only recently. When did that show up? A few months ago, maybe? Apparently, that's because mummies were cured with spices and salts. Really? Oh my God. I guess it kind of makes sense. Are you serious, though? Let's see. Mummies tasted good. Due to how they were preserved. It's a misconception. Resins, beeswax, and plant oils were aromatic and pleasant smelling, described as woody, sweet, and with a pistachio-like note. I don't know. That doesn't... They're telling me it smells like sweet and tastes like pistachio, but they weren't tasty. All right. First of all, this AI sucks. So let me go to my favorite AI. Actually, this was going to be for this was going to be for a later Mandela. Let's see. Okay, I should be able to find it again. Did mummies taste good due to how they were preserved? All right. Come on, let go. Let's see what DeepSeek has to say about this. No, it didn't. Consumption was a medicine. They were described as bitter, revolting, and nauseating. Okay, desiccation and resins. Medieval mummy were often fake. As medicine, mumia. Substance called mumia was a staple of European and Middle Eastern medicine. Man, it sounds like that storyline has grown. It was powdered mummy flesh, bone, or bitumen ingested or applied as a paste. Believed to cure everything. As a pigment, mummy brown, ground mummies. Come on, how many freaking mummies were there? They're making like paint out of them now. This is crazy. Mummies are like more common than like oil in the ground. Descriptions of the taste: bitter and loathsome. Causes great pain in the stomach. Yeah, I believe it would. Shiny black, not too foul-smelling, bitter, and somewhat sharp. The whole storyline is ridiculous. And I wouldn't be shocked if we got over to a timeline where they said, well, actually, they weren't that bad tasting after all. I've certainly never heard of this misconception part either. Let me just look at this image. I have to say, like, the actual quality of the preservation is next level these days. Like, I mean, they look like they're died like 5 minutes ago, some of them now. They used to be just, it was all covered with wraps, and then if you took the wraps off, it was this blackened, desiccated husk when you couldn't really tell the features because it was just, you know, it used to be more like that, okay? But now we're getting like this. That it's ridiculous. More and more like that. Looks like there's another one. They look like they're just sleeping. You didn't used to have any like that. Okay, anyway, I'm off on a tangent. Yeah. Well, that story, I think I've had it on before, but that's kind of funny about the spices and stuff. I wouldn't be shocked if that came into the timeline, and now it's a misconception, but I've never even heard the conception at all, but I've never even heard of them eating them until like a few months ago. Maybe it was like a year ago when it first showed, and it was like this rare thing. First it showed up as they like to just have mummies, you know, and it was like a popular trendy thing to have them. And then it switched over to this, sometimes they would eat them as medicinal. Now apparently it was common. So it's definitely growing, this weird story. I wonder if we'll get more like, oh, and it turns out that it did have a medicinal purpose, or maybe it turns out it had mad cow disease, or I don't know, some kind of story is probably going to come out of this eating them. It's like the snake oil story. Now the storyline is actually that water snakes from China are highly medicinal. So when they used to sell snake oil, the problem was that it was usually fake snake oil, but the real snake oil was actually good stuff. That's the current storyline, if you actually look into the current science. Okay. Well, see, I know. That's what I'm saying. But if I took an old rotten husk and I put salt, spices, and almond oils on it, would that be enough to make it taste good? And like paper and so? I don't know. Okay, let's just see then. I will use the normal AI. Or Egyptian mummies preserved with natron. Okay, natron, a naturally occurring salt from, okay, so salt. The body was covered with salt, natron, inside and outside. Then treated with resins, oils such as conifer resin and aromatic plant extracts. So conifer resin, that's like pine resin. It's not that tasty. It's kind of, you know, like pine sol. I mean, if you licked pine sol, it's, I don't know, how does that pine feeling? It's not hideous, but it's not something you want to eat. Resins and oils. So it's going to depend on what oil is in there. Aromatic plants. What kind of aromatic plants were applied as a coating over the linen bandages? The organs were either preserved separately in canopic jars, or wrapped and returned to the body. They always said they were put in the jars before, not wrapped and returned to the body. Huh, it's interesting. With the heart left intact. No, they never left the heart intact before, as it was believed to be the center of intelligence and emotion. They never, okay, well, that's a Mandela. They used to take all, because they couldn't preserve with the organs in there in the old days. Okay, what spices? Let's hear what spices and oils they used. Key substances: myrrh, cassia, cinnamon, cumin, anise, and frankincense. Okay, frankincense and myrrh, I know they smell good, but to my knowledge, I don't think they actually taste good. And also, if you had pine sap in there, that wouldn't taste too good. Cedar oil, I don't think that would taste too good. Pistachio, maybe. Cypress oil, I don't think so. Olive oil is okay. Castor oil, no. If they were super effing salty, that wouldn't be too great either. I'm curious if this is going to kind of phase in, though. That maybe some of them tasted good or something. It's not here yet, but it's a watch this space kind of a Mandela, I feel like. Because it has been moving in a weird direction with these. And it kind of sounds like this might be a little bit further down the path. The current path. Beeswax. Yeah, beeswax is good, but Futurama where he has the mummy jerky. Yeah, huh? So it's like Soylent Green or something. Yeah, yeah, Vivian, I agree. I would not be at all surprised if at least some of them, and they go, actually, it's misconception that they tasted bad, and actually, top shelf snake oil. Yeah, I think I had that on before. If I rub salt all over, I'll be cured. Yeah, pretty much. Cured of something. Maybe life. Salted ham. You know, they say I have I have never tasted it. I don't think I will unless I'm starving in Antarctica or something, but I have heard it said that humans taste like pork. And I wouldn't be shocked if that was the case. So in such a situation then you'd basically be eating salted pork with spices. I don't know. It could be possible, especially if you didn't eat the wrappings part. I mean, I could totally see this coming because it would not be the weirdest thing that we've dealt with. I mean, they're already eating them, so. Speaking of just bizarre old things, this is totally not a Mandela currently, but it was just weird. I guess CNN has paired up with gambling company called Kalshi Partnership, and they're gonna have gambling odds on the bottom of the screen. I feel like I'm in clown world, but no, this, as far as I can tell, this is legit. A number of places have covered it, and then there's been an announcement on CNN, and Snopes did not debunk it. So for instance, while they're talking about Donald Trump's tariffs or something, under here, the odds are 31% chance JD Vance will do whatever, just like there'll be the so like when did I first hear of that? Only like about a year or two ago, that people bet on ordinary happenings. Like first it was who's going to win the presidency, right? But then it got weirder and weirder. So apparently they bet on everything now. What are the chances that some little thing happens? And so now Kalshi, I guess, does that style of gambling, and they're going to work with CNN. So one of the guy that I saw that was talking about that, he said it was interesting because at least you could find out what might be the true opinions of the general populace, at least the gambling populace, of how much they really believe something, because you could see the odds. Like 31% people think JD Vance is going to do that thing. Now, whether they hate him or love him, that's what they think he'll do. Theoretically, assuming that the whole system isn't fake. Then you kind of have a feeling of what people are thinking, at least. And sometimes it could be interesting, like where the economy is going to go, or whether if Russia will invade or something like that. Some of those might be interesting to know what the majority actually think. So there was a whole bunch of vague stuff here where it said CNN is not paying Kalshi. I'm sure that they are getting something, but they're also not an affiliate. So an affiliate is someone who gets like a piece of whatever pie. Like, so you get like a per item payback. Like every time somebody signs up for Kalshi, CNN would get $5 or something. That would be an affiliate. So my bet then is if they're not being paid by Kalshi and they're not an affiliate, that means that Kalshi must be just paying them a lump sum. Since they're not an affiliate, then it's a lump sum. And they're calling these the mention markets. Offers so-called mention. Let me click on this. Mention markets. So they are done on political debates, company earnings, speeches, press conferences. Bettors buy yes and no shares for specific words, which vary based on the event. And the other thing that they're saying is that these are they are vulnerable to insider trading because, for instance, if you're the one giving the speech, then you can add whatever you want into that speech according to what the betting is. You can tell your friends, "Hey, bet on this. I'm gonna say it." Or my friend knows this guy and tells me he's going to say it, I know the whole thing is bizarre that their bets on this, that it's legal, and that CNN is going to have it on their ticker. All of those things are bizarre to me, actually. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, and they said that the losses on these are, you, like, for every dollar, you lose 22 cents on average when you count the fees and everything, so... I do believe that we know that their viewership has really tanked. They took a big risk alienating at least half the population to go after the other half, and now the other half is not satisfied with them either. Speaking of the put in our food and beauty products, only it's called natural ingredients thanks to Obama, and the company is located in San Diego. The company name is Cenomix. So what are you saying? There's like Soylent Green in the beauty products? I guess they could just grow like human cells and crap now, right? Because we can grow meat, so we should be able to grow human meat. Oh. I'm just sad that I thought of that so easily. You wouldn't have to kill anybody. Food additives. Claims to have reverse engineered human taste and aroma receptor. Oh, I've covered this one. Yes, I do remember this. You're not eating it, but they've made human cells that can do all this. It just doesn't even seem that bad compared to like the combining of humans with rats and making human rat brain organoids and then gluing them onto circuitry and running like computers off them, and all that has already happened now in this timeline. All right, so they're using these human cells to test products, but they're not using them to make products. They're not in the products. They're basically like, will humans like this smell? Have these smell receptor cells tell us if humans will like these. Wait a minute. Okay, they patented flavors using taste receptor-based assay systems. Cenomix's products work by amplifying the intensity of flavors. This is done by expressing taste receptors and measuring receptor signaling in response to additives. Okay, so there's still not seeing any indication of there being any human cells in the actual ingredients. They're just using them for testing. So they're basically looking for additives that can really game the taste receptors, and in order to do that, they grew their own taste receptors so that they could really game the taste receptors. And then they call it artificial flavors. Yeah, I mean, it's a chemical. MSG enhancer gained GRAS status. GRAS generally recognized as safe. I was just seeing a thing on a couple days ago where the process to get GRAS status now is like a joke. Like it's like the industry says that it's safe kind of thing. There's not nobody's second testing them and everything. So the government's job of making sure we aren't eating poison has basically been handed over to all of these companies. They're not doing it. They're just letting them self-police now. So all these people going around going, oh, we need the government to make sure we don't get poisoned. I think that ship has sailed. I don't think they're doing that anymore. There was a time when they sort of did that, but it looks like since, around the end of the 90s, they don't do that anymore. Okay, so yeah, they're not. This is not the worst stuff I've seen. Let me just put it that way. But when I think about it, there is nothing to stop them from taking like those ever-growing cancer cells and just growing meat out of it now. But why bother doing that when you can do the exact same thing and just grow pork and people won't freak out? That would be one reason I would suggest they probably wouldn't do it, at least not for food, because there's no advantage that I can see when we have faster growing cells of an acceptable meat that still would take the exact same amount of effort, as far as I know, to grow, or perhaps even less than dealing with human cells. How would we know if they're lying? Yeah. I mean, as a business person, though, I'm like just looking from the practical standpoint. If there's no profit and there's a potential pitfalls, I don't think they would do it. Like, why bother? Word could get out and you could be ruined. Why would you do that unless there's a big bunch of money to be made? You just do pork instead. Then you don't have to worry about being ruined. You can make the same amount of money. Where do you think all the missing people end up? Yeah, there isn't that many missing people. I don't know any missing people. Like, all the people I know have not missed. So I don't think you're going to get that much bio material off of a few missing people. I mean, maybe whether they get them all from Ukraine or something, maybe, but it's in Mountain Dew. Yeah, what is though? So I do, and I have for a long time suspected, and it is the narrative too, that they have put a lot of effort into figuring out how to game your taste buds and get them to want to eat their crap instead of food. And I do think it is fairly successful because, like, when you eat chips and stuff, have you ever noticed, like, a lot of times they really don't actually taste that good, but yet you still want to keep eating them. And if you try something homemade, it actually does taste better, but yet you reach a satiation point where you eat some, at least more so, that you go, okay, I'm more satisfied. So and I have read that there is like some kind of trick of ratio flavorings that they figured out that gets you to eat more and more. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if they've worked very hard on that. Just take a look at how much meat McDonald's needs every day. It doesn't add up. Yeah, you gotta wonder because they're cutting back on all the farms and stuff. Ever inhale a Lick'em-Aid candy pie? I don't know what a Lick'em-Aid is. I've never heard of it. I'd rather smell cocaine than drink it. Yeah, I think that's how you take cocaine, right? You got one of those little spoons, just like was on the train with a couple famous European presidents. You know, the irony is I don't know much about cocaine. So when they said that those guys were on the train and there was a suspicious spoon, and I was like, oh, well, okay. I mean, I didn't really realize there was a special spoon for that. And so I kind of had to take people's word for it. And I didn't really look into it, but let's just say the narrative didn't hit as hard because I'd never heard of that spoon, and I was wondering if they were just sort of reaching for a conspiracy theory. But now that I do this thing for Amazon where I do the product testing, and all the time there's products coming up and they're little they call them spice jars, and they're these little jars that you put spices in, and then they have a built-in spoon. And the narrative is that this is for if you travel and you want to bring your spices, like say you're going to the UK and they don't have any spices on anything and you want to bring your own. But then somebody said on the subreddit for Vine that, oh, the Coke, it's a Coke thing. It's made for carrying cocaine, and the spoon is for snorting it. And I'm like, oh, and then I realized those spoons look just like that one on the train. It's such a thing. I just didn't realize. I really didn't realize how many people, like, inhale cocaine, frankly. Like, I don't know. I guess I had thought that everybody who did it would just crash and burn and die. But no, it looks like maybe only 10% of people really get so addicted that they totally F up their life soon rather than later. Not saying you should play the Russian roulette and do it, though. And I'm sure that even the regular users who don't totally kill themselves, I am sure that there are physical consequences, but... It's the candy with the little white stick that you dip in the powder packets. I don't think I had that. Cokeheads will also sometimes have a long pinky nail. Now, I knew about that, but I thought it was more of an 80s pimp thing. It'd be like they would have the... Yeah, see now, if you... They're all over Amazon. I think if you look up... I'm almost afraid to do it now, but... Let's go. They'll think I'm a crackhead. Or, no, what is it? A cokehead. Spice jar, travel, spice jars with spoon. Let's see. Yeah, there. I think, those aren't the ones I saw, but that's kind of, I think these ones here, they're colorful. This is more like the ones I saw. Where's that spoon? Come on. There's this one. There it is. There's the spoon. Boink. Has that spoon. It's kind of funny. Why did they blur out just the spoon? Actually, it's kind of bizarre. Are they trying to avoid some kind of weird label or something? Zoink. Let's see. Here's this one. There it is. That's the spoon that was on the train. Those are the ones. I have no idea why there's this other stuff, but I guess you don't want to spill any. You better have a little funnel and everything. So yes, it was those. Yeah, there we go. Doink. I was so naive. I had no idea. Like, oh, of course. Of course. I kept wondering, I'm like, why do I keep seeing those? Because it seemed like kind of a bizarre thing to be carrying around. Like, UK is famous for not putting spices. I guess I could see it, but how many of those are you going to sell? What if you sniff cocaine but into a blocked nostril? I have no idea. Maybe it opens it up. Yeah, that, and then I had no idea that the little canisters to make whipped cream, the little nitrous oxide canisters, and you put it into, like, there's a whipped cream little container. You put it in there, and you push down the lid, and then you can make, like, a big bowl of whipped cream using that. It'll whip it for you, basically. So you can get these little machines for, like, $30 or something, and then you buy the $1 nitrous oxide things. Well, apparently they somehow open these and snort the gas. It's probably one of the more dangerous highs because you can it works by blocking oxygen to your brain by like the nitrous, I guess, takes the place of the oxygen. So you think that you breathe oxygen, but you didn't. And so people buy a lot of those because they're, well, I don't know what you call people who do those, but so there was a time when we did a lot of whipped cream, so I used to buy those 50 at a time, and I'm like, oh my God, I look like some kind of drug addict. I didn't know for a long time. Oh, Galaxy Gas, I think that's what they called it. I know I've heard it before. Pinky nail size and shape is right for discreet coat use. I don't think it's discreet when you have a giant fucking pinky, though. Sorry, pardon the French, but that's not. If I saw a guy with a big, long, and a chick with a humongous, I guess chicks you could get away with it because you could have all claws, right? But if you just have one, it really is anything but discreet. Dusters. Is that those so I found out later the ones for the whipped cream is called Whippets, I think, because it's for whipped cream. I don't know how people do these things to themselves. Well, I guess because it just feels good. I mean, if you think about it like this, and your life is always miserable, and then for 2 hours you had like the best time of your life, like you felt great, and all the things that bothered you were just wiped away, and especially if you're really, were miserable all the time, I think that makes it more powerful, because if you're okay and then you feel good, it's not the same as if you're really miserable and then you feel good. And then there's a huge difference. And then you go, well, that was so fun, I'm just going to do it once a week. And then, well, I'm just going to, it's sort of like you eat the cookies. I'm only going to eat one cookie, but then I'll just eat one more cookie. Except for when you eat 20 cookies, you don't ruin your life, but it's the slide and the temptation, so I think that's probably how it works. So when they start, they think they're just going to do it once in a while. And apparently a lot of people do manage to only do it once in a while, but it's sort of Russian roulette on who it hooks and it's sort of like alcoholism. I am not a big drinker, and part of it is probably because I don't get a huge pleasure response out of it. So if I drink like a half a glass of wine and then I kind of feel good, just a little, it's not real strong, it's a little bit, just a little chill, a little bit less anxious. But anything past a half a glass, and then it's sort of just, it's not helping any, and I don't want to, and the effect is mild. And now what if I like really enjoyed it, and the more I drank, the better I felt? Then it would certainly be way more tempting to suck down some more, right? But it's just not. And some of that is roll of the dice. There's a strong genetic component that genetically I just don't get a big bunch of fun out of alcohol. But some of that apparently, it does seem, is genetics. Well, see, now, yes, the big O, as they say, is quite often less reliable than a glass of wine for a lot of people. So that's probably why. After 2 hours, you are back in a worse health than before. So at first, from what I understand, no, after 2 hours, you're just back in the same way you were before. And you're not like, it's, so alcohol, yeah, you have that like, hangover if you drink more than you can handle, but regulars can actually drink quite a bit, it seems, without getting a hangover. So, and even with my European blood, I can actually drink quite a bit without getting a hangover. I can actually be pretty drunk and not get a hangover. So there's that too. Like I've been really drunk before, but I've never had a bad hangover ever. like there's been a few times when I was kind of tired and listless, but I didn't have a headache. I didn't feel super horrible or anything. That was back in the college days anyway. Psychological pain is something people must escape somehow. Yeah, well, must escape. I mean, I'm not telling people to do this, because what I'm trying to say, though, is at first, you're not back in a worse hell than before. At first. So that leads you down the garden path. And you go far down the garden path. And then you slide. It's like a slippery slope. If it was really bad right away, I think that it would deter people earlier, before they got super addicted. But it's not until it takes over your life and you need it more and more, and now you need it all the time, and now you're physically addicted, so you can't not, and then you don't have money to buy it, and you haven't done your job, and you got fired, and that's what really ruins people. Now, yes, you are definitely in a worse health than you were before, but it doesn't start right away. It waits. It lures you way down into the cave before it bites. Nitrous oxide is also what they give you at the dentist to knock you out. I don't know if they still use that. I had kind of got the impression that they often don't use that anymore, for the very reason that it is a little hard. It's harder to control than some of the newer ones. I won't swear that they never use it, but my understanding is that some of the newer ones are safer. As far as not, like if you get too much nitrous, then you don't get enough oxygen. There could be severe negative consequences, shall we say. I've only had 2 cigarettes in my whole life, but last week I wanted to have one so badly. I talked about it before, that I went through a long stretch in my life where I would say, oh yeah, it'd be great to have a cigarette over there. But I've never smoked cigarettes in my life, except for a couple marijuana ones, which I do not enjoy the smoking part. So there's never been a time when I inhaled a cigarette and went, right? Never in my life. So I don't know if it's like some kind of past life memory, but I would think like a smoker, and I've never done that. I don't, and I know right now that if I'm thinking it would be nice to have a cigarette there, if I inhaled that black smoke, I would freaking hate it. In fact, I even hate it when it's marijuana. Every time I'm just like, hurry up and get the marijuana kick in so I can stop feeling this miserable lung feeling. So I don't know why, why would I think that way? It was a very weird time. It was more in the 90s, but I've smoked weed a few times and felt nothing. Really? That's kind of bizarre. So back in the 80s, it was a lot weaker, so you could just have a few tokes or whatever, and you just be a little bit, and food tastes really good. So that was kind of the thing. I would just make sure you have food, because it was part of the experience, so might as well get all you can out of it. But I couldn't do it that much. I was in college. I had 2 jobs. I had, there was very rare that I could get. It's not like you can do homework or anything when you're on marijuana, but now it's so strong, and I don't know. I think I like it. I don't hate it, but I got something out of it occasionally in college, but now I'm even less inclined. I kind of feel like I have stuff to do, and then that's kind of just getting in the way of me doing it. If I couldn't use my brain, which is the main issue, I just feel kind of stupid. That is the main experience I have. I just kind of feel stupid. Like my brain won't work, and then I'm like, yep, now I get to sit here because I'm so dumb. I can't do anything. Of course, the food part. I still like the food part. Okay, so, yeah, we got that. Surreal world. All right, that skull thing. Okay, who remembers... Who remembers on Halloween, on the day of Halloween, the 31st, some years ago, suddenly they announced that a skull-shaped meteor was doing a flyby of the Earth. Does anybody remember a skull-shaped meteor on Halloween Day? The first time they ever knew about this, with no advance notice hardly at all, because they didn't notice it until it was already flying by. There was a skull-shaped meteor. Does anybody remember that? Because I sure as heck do not remember that. And the irony is that I've been introduced to this new concept of comets called a dead comet. They said it's a dead comet. I'm like, well, none of them are breathing and have lungs. They're all dead, right? Well, a dead comet has shed its volatiles after numerous passes around the sun. So I guess now sometimes comets don't have tails and stuff because they're dead versus the live ones. And the difference is that the stuff doesn't fly behind. The belated comet has, so let's see, was this the original? Skull-shaped Halloween close flyby object is likely a dead comet. So it was 2015, October 31st. .600 meters in diameter, so it was 1,800 feet approximately. And apparently it flew by really what they consider really close to Earth. So on Halloween, we had a flyby sudden skull comet. And then they said it was really dark, coal-colored. At least one article said that. So it's like creepy in every way. And it's called a dead comet. The belated comet. Belated meaning they discovered it late. But they discovered it on, Halloween, I think? Has been observed by optical and radar observatories around the world. Flying by at 1.3 lunar distances. Okay, so that image that I showed is kind of like an artist rendition of what they think it looks like. Because we didn't apparently have clear images of it. I don't know why we wouldn't have clear images of it. Maybe it's going to change with every timeline, so they didn't want to get too clear. But supposedly it does look basically like that, like a skull. So that's the thumbnail. It's the Halloween. So they called it the Halloween comet or the Great Pumpkin comet. Because the Great Pumpkin is like an American storyline from the Peanuts cartoons about Halloween. I think they should call it the Skull Comet, like a normal human, but I don't believe anything they say about comets. I don't know. Maybe the whole world is fake, so that if the whole world is fake, then the comments aren't any more or less fake. That's a Titan skull. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that storyline is any more fake than the rest of them. All right, so there was. So apparently this thing flies by every 3-ish years, but not always on Halloween. So there's the artist rendition. The Halloween asteroid, 2015 TB145. 45, that happens to be the number of a certain orange president. Shown here, artist illustration. Better late to the Halloween party than ever. All right, so on this year, first discovered in 2015, right on Halloween, and then it went by November 11th, 2018, and then I believe it's gone by at least one more time. I've never heard of it. And every time it goes by again, they say that Halloween story again. No one knew what it looked like until the day before Halloween when Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico captured the first radar images. NASA called the asteroid the Great Pumpkin, while others called it the Halloween asteroid. I mean, how could you not hear about it? Yet, I have never heard of it. Did I write this thing? Yeah, I did. Okay. Doink. Grinning skull. All right, this one. I ran into this. Somebody was talking about the Darth Vader Mandela, and I thought they were going to talk about like the Luke versus no or something else. And then instead, though, this was on the subreddit, like his cheek. He said, like Darth Vader's cheek. And I'm like, what do you mean, like his cheek? Like, because we have talked about how the shape of it has changed. Well, but I think he said the silver cheek. And I'm like, what do you mean the silver cheek? Because we've talked about the strips here. Okay. And then we talked about the nose, which I think has gotten, it used to be silver, but now it's what, white? I don't know. But apparently now, the silver, I hope you are from my timeline when that was it, but the silver now encompasses the neck, the lower mandible, one cheek on one side, and then the outer skull area, but not the cheek on the other side. So this guy's like a clown now. He's got a silver cheek, and then this is silver here, and then this is black, and this is black over here, and then there's a line here, and it's all silver underneath. And also I noticed that it's got these silver, whatever they call these shoulder pad thingies, because before I remember there being, I also don't remember one down the middle. I remember like 3 stripes here of silver and 3 here of silver. Not that. Not one down the middle. Not that. Certainly none of that. Or any up there. The whole thing is crazy. So this is the official, this is one of the originals used. One of the original masks and outfits used. You can see the cheek stripe. And there's even a story in here that they had discussed whether they were going to do this or not, and they decided to. And that was before the first one. So they're talking about the providences. These are like artifacts from the original. So this is interesting because it kind of doesn't look like it's silver here, but you can see the silver here, and you can kind of see the silver here. What was this one was used for, I think, some of the fight scenes, and they left this off so that air could get through here. But you can see one side is one color. So what this would have been is then a silver one here and a black one here, but they left those off for air, and they didn't do any close-ups. And this was the fight scene when Luke and Vader was fighting the first time, I'm pretty sure. That's the same one. I'm very suspicious about this grill work ziggy zags behind here too. I don't remember. Oh, and we kind of talked about the weird lines here, but I feel like they're more prominent now. Like he looks like he's going, looks like an angry Karen now with a crinkled nose. So there's one of the originals. You can really see it here. So these are all old artifacts from, you see the silver here. They call these the tusks now, these bolts, whatever. Look at how big the white is here. Craziness. You can clearly see the cheek here. I think that was an original concept model that they didn't use. I think. Cheek there. Bizarre. It's absolutely bizarre. And we've looked at this so many times. Look at that. Absolutely crazy. So apparently that guy has been in a timeline where this silver cheek has been a Mandela for a long time. I have never seen it before. I do think there's been some structural changes again to the face, but with the color change, let's see. That kind of masks some of it. Okay, let's see. One thing I would say is that in a lot of these, there's kind of Not only are these cross hatches, but even the helmet right here is kind of pushed in to make it, see, like right here. I don't remember that. I think that the nose area got bigger and it's more white. But, you know, with the color change, I think these tusks, they're calling these the tusks. I don't remember there being a split Y in them like there is now so much. It does seem like this area has gotten a little more prominent overall. But again, with the color change, it's a little more difficult to tell. Yeah, it looks like it's more pushed out, like a snout. That actually kind of blew me away, because there is no way. We've been watching this for so long. And that guy just... Oh, yeah, like that silver cheek. I'm like, what silver cheek? Keep in mind the entire costume looks slightly different in every movie. Yeah, but we've been like watching it for like 8 years, and I've been checking the color for 8 years looking for additional silver. And we have looked at the whole costume lineup before, where there's Reddit posts that show every last costume ever. And from my reading, every one of these masks has had this color variation, this exact one from the very first one. The bulldog teeth. The silver cheek, there's no effing way. All right, well, anyways. It's all crinkly here. Is it going to get silver? Oh my god, it's got silver there. Did it get silver there? It looks like it's got silver. Oh my god. I don't think that was silver when I was looking at this last week. Yes, it does look like his, what is it? The angry nose lines are silver now. It does look like it. Hold on. Let me go down to that one that really shows it. Isn't that one? Oh, it is! Dang, you know, it's like... yes, that got silver too. The crinkle nose, the crinkle eyes. Look at that. Yeah. This really shows it. So here is silver, then the cheek is silver, and now that's silver. I don't think that was that way even a few days ago, frankly. Very clear here. Yeah. I'm kind of freaked out because I was just saying that's more prominent, but I didn't mean it was silver. I bet you there's other stuff I'm missing. Look at how big the nose is now. There's no way it was that big. It's so much smaller before. And I don't know, why is it white? It looks stupid white. Look at it. It looks stupid. Silver at least, but I swear to God, it looks like somebody got white out. Just like, make it white. All right, are we getting down there? Dang, there's so many. Ah, this one's interesting. You can't really tell there. That one's weird because it looks like it's both cheeks. I missed the one that shows it. Ugh. All right, well, you get it. Oh, it was right there. It stopped on that one, and then I screwed it up. There. You can't really tell on that one. see if I can make it larger. Nope, it doesn't get larger. Oh, that white is so white too. Pig snout. Yeah, I haven't even looked. I've been so busy. I have not even looked at C-3PO. I have thought about it though. Rudolph the White-Nosed Vader. I don't know. It's been from the very first episode that they made. Now he looked like that. All right, let's see. C-3PO. C-3PO. What is this? He's got one pinched nipple zone on that side. It looks like the V here has gotten very prominent too. Let's see. What are these dead lines on the side of the head? Are they all like that? Okay, so this I don't know what this collarbone thing is doing, but that seems extra. Alright. Of course, it's all blurry. Thanks a lot. The Mandela silver leg. Boy, there's a lot of space in the stomach. It's a lot. Wait a minute now. I don't think for me okay. There, that looks better, but he's all bent forward in that one. Okay, so for me, compared to last time, the stomach has a lot of a bigger chasm. A lot. Like, it's about 40% larger. It's like he's got a crop top on now or something. Okay, I'm assuming... Wait, let me just find one from the... You know, the cables always change in there, too. For a while, there was some colored ones and stuff. It looks like a black hole in there now. Wait, that's... What the heck? What the heck? Wait, that's not the show. Wait, that... No... I have to make sure I'm... Okay. That looks so wrong. Isn't that when they were on Hoth? This is so wrong. Okay, I'm stop looking at the stomach and I'll start looking at other parts. This meme is kind of how I feel right now. All right, hold on. Can we have... You know, that's one of the problems is it's... Why is it that they're all blurry and stuff? I'm trying to see if there's like one pinch on one side. Oh, you cannot see. Okay, so what it looks like is he's got this collarbone, so he's kind of grown like the outlines of the pectorals is what I'm seeing on these. He didn't used to have the outlines of the pectorals. Not to this extent like this. There just used to be a little bit of a cut, but he didn't have all that. So he's Growing pectorals, it looks like. So maybe that one pinch was a dent or something. So another thing I'm seeing on this one is this one's legit. There's a silver ring here now. So there didn't used to be a silver ring. Is he missing parts? Let's see. Because that one was definitely silver. This is silver. So is he getting some silver? Is he going to turn all silver now? It doesn't look silver in that one, but... No. Whenever it's shifty, then all of the images turn all blurry. You can't see crap. Okay, I'm assuming that's So it's right there. I need to see if it's silver. Why is it so blurry? I'm going to assume that's the legit costume, but see, it's so... Ugh. Low quality image. See, it looks Wi-Fi. Aha! It's back! Hold on. Cancel that. Yes. Okay. I don't know what happened, but I just lost internet for absolutely no apparent reason whatsoever. I had no idea what to do. You guys can hear me now, right? Can you hear me now? Unable to connect to chat. Try again later. Let me see. What can I do here? No. Chat's not coming back. Okay, let me just try redoing the URL. But what's new? Seriously, did you hear all that last stuff? And now we have giant clams. Giant clams also have it. I don't know why the internet is so bad. So yeah, giant clams. That was what I'm trying to say. None of you are real. You don't mind if you get disconnected from the internet then. Okay, so I don't know. Did you miss a lot or no? But I'm just going to like charge forward. So yes, we have giant clams now photosynthesize, which is totally baloney. Giant clams. There they are. And that, like, I should have had that as the thumbnail because it looks ridiculous. That's a giant clam open, full of photosynthetic algae, and it's some kind of symbiotic thing, I believe. A giant clam on a coral reef in Palau. Now, I believe that when I was in Palau many, many years ago, that I actually had one, like I touched one of these because I went snorkeling there and you could basically stand, like I'm a pretty good swimmer, and then they have these like high areas of coral, so you put your shoes on, the water shoes, and you could stand on these, so you wouldn't even have to swim that long, as you just swim over a little bit and you could stand on those. And when I was paddling around, I saw a big clam down in the bottom, and I just dove down. It was like 8 feet or something, and I just picked it up, and it was loose, and I brought it up, and I showed all the people on the boat this big. I'm like, look at the size of this monstrous clam. And then I like swam back down, and I put it back. And I think it was one of these, because I don't know of any other ones that are that big. But it didn't have all that crap inside. It wasn't all colorful and stuff. This is crazy. I don't even know what what this is. Like, and then it's all got like meat along the sides and stuff. I don't know what the heck is going on. So the story then is that although regular plants and crops only harvest about 3% of available solar energy, and then large solar arrays, like the artificial ones, harvest 20 to 25% of the solar energy. They think that these clams have a 67% efficiency of harvesting solar energy. And so apparently they host these photosynthesizing algae, and there's this whole complicated like tubular structure where the clam arrays the algae for maximum light, and it's got special cells that bounce the light around so that the algae are perfectly bathed in the perfect amount of light. This whole drama that kind of shows some of that giant clams have. There's no freaking way that giant clams were like photosynthetic, but now they are. But it is a symbiotic situation. But still, they weren't like coral. This is like insanity. So that's the current story. So yeah, basically I was just saying clams do it now too. That's the important part. Doink. Okay, so two people, Taro Eto and Easy Cheesy 181, both mentioned the leaf sheep, so I could only guess that leaf sheep are making the meme rounds again, even though they're rather old for me. Maybe we had a new shift and the new batch of people got to get introduced to the leaf sheep again. All right, and then Jackie found this one, L'Oreal Pit. I feel like L'Oreal is just a shampoo for hair, but here it's a pit, and it is in these pit vipers. See, I used to think they were called pit vipers because they lived in a pit, okay? But now the pit vipers, they have a pit, a special pit. Between their nose and their eyes is another pit. I noticed a lot of creatures are growing these weird extra pits, and it's called a L'Oreal pit. Is a deep depression or fossa in the L'Oreal area. Are you making up all this crap? Okay, so the L'Oreal area, this was going to say what it was. Region between the eyes and nostrils of birds, reptiles, and amphibians. But we've seen it in mammals, weird crap in there too. On either side of the head, in pit vipers, and it's for, the heat sensing organs are in this pit. But now they have like an ability to triangulate, or I guess not a triangle, but it's now with two of them they can kind of tell distance and whatever the 3D vision thing that two of them give you, that one did it. Now, see, this is interesting because I thought before that they said that the heat sensing organ was that third eye here, and there was just the one third eye, and now this one has it in these pits. So does it? I guess it doesn't have the third eye, but it's got the pits, the L'Oreal pits. So that's a new one for me. Boink. And then the plasmasphere. Have you heard of it? So they've been talking about the magnetosphere lately, but now we have the plasmasphere and the plasma pause. So inside the magnetosphere is the area where there's a bunch of plasma. So see this little dot here that is smaller than the plus sign is just the Earth. And then all of this crap, which is way bigger than the Earth, is the plasmasphere. And then at the very edge where the plasma sort of ends is the plasma pause. And then way out here is the magnetosphere. I guess it kind of pushes the crap from the solar system away. But all that shit, I don't know why I'm swearing so much today. I apologize. But all this stuff is relatively new or very new to me. And I already did Laguna Salada, so I think that's it. You know, I was so sleepy when I started that I didn't think I was going to make 2 hours, but I made it. Leaf sheep. Leaf sheep are these if you look them up on the Google, you see them, but there's this weird little sea slug thing that steals photosynthetic whatever you call those things. They steal it out of what they eat, and then they incorporate it in their own system. I've had those on before, but they have altered to have more colors and stuff. So, and then I went on to the giant clams. We will start off with the rare snake situation, then move on to most of them. Yes, with the pit vipers and the weird L'Oreal pits. Although it looks like some of them are going to develop like a really good pineal eye thing. I expect that some of them will develop that instead. One thing I'm noticing about the pit vipers is their skull is very flat back there. So maybe there's not room for the pineal. So they're going to do pits. Keep clam and carry on. Yes. They wish, but I'm not good at clamming up. Yeah, so actually I have screwed up the internet on my phone too, so I was actually upset because I was like, oh, I'll just post on I'll use my phone to post on the chat, but then I realized that I can make calls, but I haven't been able to get the internet, and I need to go back to the T-Mobile store, but I've been so busy I just don't have time. And T-Mobile is going to be crazy busy during Christmas also, so I was going to wait till after. I knew about giant clams, but I never heard of them photosynthesizing inside their big fat mouths. So I knew about giant clams for maybe 15 years, I would say. They showed up right around the time I started the show. Maybe a little, or not the show, my shop. Okay, well, there you go. Happy full moon. I don't know if it's got any colors, names, or anything. Super, blue, harvest, black sage, something, who knows. I haven't heard any weird names for this one. I'm sure by next year there'll be something here. Waiting for the Christmas asteroid to show up. All right, guys. You know the drill. Thanks for coming. Think good thoughts, everybody. This is Eva signing off for Once Upon a Timeline. Doink.